All right, so now I have this Codepen. You just go to codepen.io. It's free, and you can create a Codepen, but you can also just duplicate what I have. All right, so this is what we're basically recreating, right? Our extraction of this, but in Figma. Okay, cool. So now we're gonna go ahead and create a section here in the HTML. Just gonna call it section. Whoops. Call that section. Boom. And then we can apply a class, so like wrapper or whatever. Like, this isn't super right, but just bear with me for the exercise. Then we'll have this CSS class. We'll create the CSS class called wrapper. And then we can go ahead and go into Figma, and you could just go straight into dev mode and figure out what's going on here. Like, what's the main thing we want is the layout. We'll even go ahead and just make the background black as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and apply those properties, right? So now I have my width and all that set up, and I'm gonna set the background color to 000. That should change it. All right, so now I know it's working, right? The reason I'm not applying it to everything is so you can see that we do have this width applied, and we can even figure out what the max width is for this section if we wanted to. So 1308, we can even just say that this is, maybe this is the max width, right? So one thing we're also going to want to do with this section is center it on this page. So let's go ahead and just apply display flex. We're gonna go height 100 VH, width 100%, align items, center, justify content, center, and there we go. All right, now with our wrapper, we need to figure out what's going on with our width. There we go. All right, I got rid of the max width, and there we go. We have this section. All right, now with all that said, let's go ahead and just create basically our text here. So we're gonna want a font, this inter font family. So there's like importing fonts or whatever. So you can type in inner fonts, Google Fonts, and then go to Google Font. There should be the ability to select kind of your weights or download them. There you go. Or here we go. So we can figure out what weights we're using. We have bold, regular, semi bold. All right. So regular, bold, semi bold. All right, that's what we need. So 400, semi bold, bold. Okay, cool. So here it is. So this is for enter. Awesome. And then there we go. That's what we want. Enter. Okay, we can copy this link, right? Or we can use this at import. And then we can go into the Codepen, apply this up above. Oh, whoops. We're gonna put that in the HTML, right? And then we can make sure that the font family is set to enter. So I'm gonna go ahead and just make sure that this applies to all fonts. we'll see if it works. Well, actually, no, we'll just do it on a case-by-case basis for the sake of the exercise. So, all right, now that we got our font plugged in, we're going to see if it works by just creating a div with the class of header and description. And then I'm going to close that out. Cool. All right, I'm going to have this class ready here. Let's type in the magic as needed. So if we want, we can go ahead and just do that now. I can hit Shift D and I can grab all the flexbox properties I need and the spacing properties. So I have that. It doesn't look like anything because there's no content in here, right? So if we want this, here we have our H2. And I'm going to go ahead and throw that in here. Okay, we have our H2 and we're going to copy this string. All right, everything unlike anything. And then we have our paragraph tag. And then boom. All right, paragraph tag. All right. Now I'm going to copy that string and then paste that in here. And honestly, I'm very confused on what's going on here. Add to set the font color to white there to actually start seeing the font, and I'm going to go ahead and see if the application of this font will work here. So there we go, we have that applied. All right, it worked. So now that we have that font family, we can go ahead and start figuring out what the deal is with our header and description, the gap here, our header and description. I'm going to comment that out. I want to see what the deal is with. Okay, so the H2 looks like it has, like in the Codepen, some margins already or padding. So I'm going to just see if I can reset that. So there's like CSS reset and stuff. Okay, so it was margin. All right, so what I can do is globally select kind of and remove this margin just so that's not happening and it is adhering to, you know, these properties here. Okay, cool. So now I have that gap there, and I'm going to want to ensure that I have a max width specified for my box here, and it's not appearing in the layout. Okay, so we have it set to 655, but I'm going to get out of dev mode and select that again, 655. Okay, perfect. So, whoops. I'm going to set the height to auto and the width to 655 pixels. Like, there are better ways to kind of format this stuff, like using rem-based values and stuff for scaling and whatnot, but we're just doing this for the sake of the exercise. And then we can go ahead and set the text to align center. All right, awesome. And then we can target the P tag to have a different hex code for the font color. Since it is a different value, it's not entirely white, so that'll temporarily disappear. So just grab that color there. All right, so whoops, gotta throw the hashtag in there. And then I'm gonna go ahead and just globally apply this font using that global selector. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to have to retype that. And then from there, I want to make sure my line height's where I want it to be for this paragraph. So I can go ahead and just kind of copy these styles in the P tag. There we go. Now I have that line height. And then I need to modify this H2 to have the appropriate size and text properties. So now it's set to white. We're set there. Boom. All right. This is looking more like it, right? For the height of my wrapper, I'm actually just going to set it to 100 VH as well for this exercise, because it's kind of been getting wonky, honestly, or not. I'm just going to undo that. And then the reason that's doing that is because I already have set the wrapper to center everything automatically. So it's just going to, once the content below it is implemented, it will push that up. We have our text, everything's styled. We're going to go to our description and image. So we're going to create another div here. And I'm going to go ahead and close that div out. And then what do we have? So we have a description, right? I'm going to apply a class to this one since the styling is different. All right, so we have that set up, and then we have our image, so a div with an image. So I'm going to do this. I'm just presetting this up. So image. All right, awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of target this there we go. All right, and make sure I have this styling applied here. So with this text, I'm going to grab those font size properties. I need to actually throw the text in there. And then see how it reacts. All right, so we have this, and it's roughly there. So now what we want to do is make sure that our description and image div, our description class has a width of 436 pixels. And then it'll start to contain that content. But we can go in and just kind of reference Figma for the layout. And with that class selected, we can make sure the appropriate properties are applied. So I can just kind of paste those. Alrighty. Now, the next thing is the image, probably the hardest part. Now that we got all this content here. So, with this image, we need to figure out where to get it from. So, we do have the ability to grab the URL here, which we have done. So I'm going to actually figure out how to get that. All right. Here we go. And okay, cool. So here is the source of this image. So I have the URL for that. So we'll figure out how to plug that in via CSS. All right, perfect. So we got the image URL. Now we need to call that class and CSS for image. Just gonna, a little quick W3 schools never hurt here. Guys, so I'm going to walk you through some of the debugging I did because I got really confused because I had copied this class name without remembering that I applied it here, which I'm sure those of you who were very attentive caught. And one thing that I fixed as well was I applied this overflow hidden property to kind of remove the scrolling, this weird unwanted scrolling. So I applied that globally just for the sake of this exercise. And now I kind of have that placement achieved. And as throughout the video, you saw me messing with the height. So I'm going to go ahead and with the wrapper, I could, if I wanted to, get rid of the height. And that will kind of, or we could, increase the height. So if I actually wanted this to be set to 100 VH and maybe have this take up, the entirety of the screen or something. Nope. I guess the next thing is fixing the scrolling issue real quick. All right. So with that, I have this here, and we have basically almost our end goal. We will need to kind of just apply a gradient, which I've been testing and applying on the image container. But this may need kind of its own class. So I'm going to try that out with y'all and paste this in here. And I'm going to apply that gradient to the image and just make it take up the width and height of its parent container. So I'm going to type in gradient there. I figured it out. So basically what I figured out was I inspected the CSS, and what I had found was once I got to the right layer here, let's get to the image, this after, whatever this pseudo selector is, there's this class, right? And it has all this mumbo jumbo in it. And basically what I did was in my code editor in Codepen was I erased everything I had for my gradient and my gradient class, and then I applied this after pseudo selector, and then I just pasted these contents in, and then it worked. So I don't have the in-depth answer to that, but here you can see that changing, and there's that gradient effect applied. And that is how you code that aspect of it. So here is essentially kind of the final product. We could even, if we wanted to, I think my Firefox Dev Edition browser is kind of messed up. So if I go in, open up like Brave, so was my web browser, it does do that weird buggy stuff. But anyways, here's the final product, and here's what it looks like in Figma. You can, I hope you found this exercise helpful. I know there were quite a few things, kind of had to pause and triage myself, but that is kind of the crux of deconstructing interfaces and learning along the way, and not being afraid to Google things you don't know. And hope you found this really helpful, and I hope this inspires you to become more technical in regards to how you approach UI design. And not only is this applicable to cool pieces of websites you see, this is totally applicable to extracting things from your current system and other things as well. So I hope you found that helpful. Here is what we essentially mimicked to an extent. And please share this with other people, and I will catch you in the next one.